All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Thursday, November 4th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and welcome on back, of course, for our afternoon meeting. Great to see all of our students and members alike inside the cyber group room. Great to see Grant, Bell, Chuck, Michelle, Lewis, Norman, all of us otherwise joining us live right now. And hey, if you're joining us once again on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back. So, I'll tell you what, we don't have class this afternoon. Tomorrow, we'll talk about Bitcoin, at least in crypto, but I can take my sweet time right now. I can at least go through things pretty leisurely. For right now, the Ford trade, it's on the screen to begin. Normally, we would like to, more so follow stocks that are up, 15, 20, 30 plus percent. More than 5%, really. But you know what? Ford's been on such a run today. I mean, it ended up popping after the market opened up. You could see where it ended up holding around 1925 pre-market high. It came down from there. I drew this line later on, like just recently before this meeting started. I'll explain why in a moment. But it's to say, though, that you know what? I was thinking that this stock would end up making a lower high, a good short opportunity off 19. And from that point, my thought was to see this pull back down, begin to drop off more. Well, if it's not going to break down any lower, again, I say it all the time here. There's only one other way the stock's going to go, at least at the time. And well, once we saw this blast over 19, the whole number resistance, there was no looking back. All right. So I was actually short on this stock from 19. And unfortunately, I mean, it dropped down a little bit, but I wasted the whole profit. I took a -1, a scratch trade, literally just as soon as it broke over 19, get stopped out. But nonetheless, I didn't reverse and go long. This stock ended up making a really nice push back up here, right? So you know what? For the meantime, we'll put this on our main watch list, and this is where I'll get to 1925 here. There was a huge iceberg order at 1925. You can see how it coincides with this big spike of volume right here. So I was calling out Ford worth watching at 1925. I was calling it out right on this instance here where it broke under, but right back over, right? Your best entries to buy a stock. I think that all of our students after this week's set of classes, I think that you folks can finish the sentence there. But for right now, Ford definitely for the meanwhile, we'll put this on the main watch list so far. All right. We'll talk about a couple of other trades that we ended up doing really well on. I'll tell you what, Nikola still looking pretty healthy right now. This stock, I think we talked about this even from yesterday in terms of at least the stocks that have very high short interest. Nikola is one of them, one of the most heavily shorted stocks across the entire market. I think it's at least still in the top 10. But for right now, Nikola definitely with the way it's looking right now, again, another car company like Ford, but this one EV. We'll put this on the main watch list right out the gate, just with it being near the high so far heading into the afternoon. We ended up calling the stock out after it ended up making this big slingshot once it broke under, but back over 13. And once again, once it broke the new high of the day, just seeing the reaction off the slingshot, you had a pretty good inkling that this stock would make a pretty good move across the morning or at least the day in general. So, hopefully there's a lot more left to this run on the Nikola stock. Now, full transparency right away, folks. OCGN. I mean, we ended up shorting the stock from earlier today, but I'm currently long on this trade. I've been long for the last like hour and a half, really. From 961 is my entry price right now. I was in originally from 970. Ended up taking a 6-cent loss and got shaken out, but hey, I was in a few coaching sessions with students earlier today on this OCGN trade. It's to say this: the stock actually was easy to borrow this morning, whereas yesterday I think it was hard to borrow, and this whole week. But man, this thing ended up opening up and ended up breaking below a big support right off 11. And from that point, it ended up providing as a great opportunity as a short. But here's the thing, right? I mean, it's not even to look at the news. I had no news on OCGN, at least from yesterday morning. I didn't bother to look. I say that because I had a question come in from a student in a coaching session, and they had said, well, they're not as particular about buying stocks after they've been, dropped after they were dropping for a while, let's just say back to back days to see this OCGN drop from like 18 all the way down. It's dropping off more. This student had mentioned, hey, I'm not as particular about buying stocks when they're dropping off as much. Understandable. But there's always a way to go about taking any long trade, right? Again, goes back to that same song and dance I go through with you folks every day here. When it breaks through a big level on the way up, that's where you try and take the trade. So here's the thing. I wish I could tell you folks, I jumped in here when it ended up basically holding right over 10. I didn't, because it didn't break under 10 first. It didn't break under, but back over. But I told that student at the time, well, you know what? If this stock can make a similar move, if it could break below, but right back over a major level, then from that point, I would anticipate a pretty good move. So I actually waited for this to break below 10. I was looking to take the trade on the slingshot. Well, obviously, you could see this thing just kept dropping. There was no opportunity off of 10. So I tried jumping in off of like a 970 price. I thought there was like a smaller order there, and I got shaken out. All right. Well, I was assuming it was going to just drop down to 950, and I was ready to jump in long from 950. But you know what? It didn't really tank and break much lower. So I gave it one more chance, and I jumped in from here. 961 is my entry price, and I'm still in. And this pop right now is certainly doing me pretty nice for right now. So, hey, OCGN, given how volatile the stock has been over the last week, really, it would be hard for us to not put this on the main watch list. And again, it's shortable. So if it were to drop back down, perhaps there could be a good opportunity there. Otherwise, I'd like to think this thing will still move up for a little while. 1050 you have as resistance. You have a couple of historical levels on this stock looking at the daily chart. 1063 and 1092 price levels also that you should be pretty wary of. Actually, 1063 held extremely well today early on as a support, ended up holding pretty well just as resistance. So that'll be pretty much the resistance that I'll consider to try and get out on this trade. I mean, if it keeps pushing up as I go through this meeting, then maybe I just pull the trigger early and just take the profit and try and jump back in later. All right, but I'll tell you what, we have a couple of other stocks that are moving here right now in the moment. JP, cheapy. It's one that we're not really too fond of or too familiar of, but hey, it's up over 27+% right now. It just broke a new high for us a moment ago. I pulled back below the 150 level here, so I was pretty interested in putting this on the main list right away. But you know what? Maybe we'll come back to this at the end, and if this ends up making its way back over the 150 level, then I'd be a lot more particular with putting this on the main list. From Gary says, Josh, that was a great trade. Well, they're not always perfect like that. I'm happy to say that this one has worked out so far, but again, it goes back to trying to follow the rules that you should be following as much as possible. So here, I wish I could tell you I got in off 10 because it made a good squeeze, but it just didn't follow my rules. And unfortunately, I didn't take the trade, but there's always going to be an opportunity for a stock like an OCGN. How about this? Shout out to Ron W. live inside the Cyber Group room. Man, you sold your swing trade just now, Ron, on Ford. He was in from 1501, so he got about $4.39, and he only closed half his position. He still has half left. So congrats, Ron, on that Ford swing trade that you got there. PETZ, Bobby calling out the pop right now, and damn, I'm not in this trade. I was telling you folks inside the trading room earlier, I was pretty reluctant on calling this out, but it wasn't dropping off, and if it could break through the 3 level on the way up here, it can make a nice pop, and obviously we have it. You know what? At this point right now, this stock already made such a big drop off from the morning. It took so long for it to make this, squeeze up. It would not shock me to see this Pets trade crumble and come right back down. If it ends up popping up more, great. And then at that point, I would be more keen to put it on the main list. But this is what I would traditionally call the second wind type of move. To see a stock like that trade as much volume as it did in pre-market, it dumped off after the open. It was just, really flat across the whole day. Great catch there on the Pets trade. And if you caught it off at 3, it's obviously making for a good profit so far, but I would be pretty wary of having the volume die off here. Be careful on this trade. All right, but I'll tell you what, we'll go from top to bottom. I had said that we can kind of take our sweet time here as we go through this meeting. So, we'll do that. If for any of the other movers that we had from earlier today, we'll look to comment on them briefly. This EVAX stock, we were pretty interested early on in the pre-market with, but again, got halted when the market opened up. And you know what I say when a stock gets halted on the way down. So I pass on that here for the meantime. Sava, look at this. Another big move this morning, more off a gap up. I don't know. I didn't really catch this as much. I guess right around 10 o'clock, it made a big pop. Let's take a look at the news just to see if there's any update on Sava here. We called the stock out back on Tuesday of this week when it was running up really nicely for us going into the market open, or I think the market closed that was. All right, so SAVA shares trading higher after a review by the Journal of Neuroscience showed there is no evidence of data manipulation in a 2012 company technical paper. All right, sounds like good news. Sounds like a nice, good headline and a big reaction afterwards. But yeah, right now, I mean, the volume totally died off. So again, it's what I'll say there. All right, so we'll keep it going. NPTN, this is a buyout. I would at least strongly assume for that to be the case. We'll keep going. Man, CRXT, geez, how the mighty have fallen. This stock ended up making such a nice run for us, as you could see going into the early afternoon. And again, the volume died off. When the volume dies off, so does the stock. Take a look at Yell. Hopefully I'm not yelling, but YELL. Hey, it's at the highs. You got to appreciate that. Has really tight spread and kind of thin liquidity on the book. Let's see on the monthly chart here. Oh no, this is nowhere near all-time highs. My guess would be that this stock has been reverse split 1,000 times over the years. I don't think this was ever a $450,000 ticker, but you know what? To see these stocks reverse split over and over, it will over time create a short squeeze. So, across the last month, this stock's been moving up. We haven't really focused much on this trade, really. For right now, it's at the highs on the 1-minute chart, but the volume totally died off. So, maybe you'll check back in with this trade coming up tomorrow morning. Maybe. We'll see. HMHC, not a whole lot happening there. The Nikola trade already on our list. That looks good. Maxer, the volume traded per minute right now is very light, so I'm going to pass there. All right, we're going to get right to Prague, and I ended up closing out my trade on Prague just earlier. I took 12 cents on it. I was in from 350. It's like a real grinder of a move right now so far. But hey, it's up 17+%. Again, it's near the highs. Great liquidity on the book. So I'm going to put this on our list. We love this stock, Prague, but we've also seen this stock move a lot better in terms of the pace. Nice steady trend up off the lows, but I would really want to see this thing make a sharper move for us here, in the final hour. Geez, NVIDIA. Talk about a squeeze, right? If you got calls on that, that's one thing, but as a $300 stock, I don't think any one of us are trading this on 1,000 shares. Same with Etsy. Qualcomm, same thing. Oh man, I'll tell you what, you've had a bunch of expensive stocks make these like really big moves over the last week. I mean, I'm talking about CAR and the ones from today, of course. I know Tesla from last week up like 13%. All right, I'll tell you what, there's definitely a lot more that's up because number 50 is up over 11%. So, folks, if there's anything else that looks good that's up, that's making a nice move up, at least type it in the chat board. Just let me know. And then otherwise, I'll hop over to the losers list here. VMEO. Ooh, Vimeo. Wow. I was going to guess, but I guess I'm right. Vimeo, a website that offers, services like YouTube to upload videos. It's like kind of like a video sharing website, much like YouTube. I don't know what happened to this company today. My belief would be earnings, just shoot from the hip guess. But, although the stock's at the lows of the day right now or seemingly close to the lows and it is shortable, I'm not as particular about the liquidity. So for that reason, mainly, I'm going to pass on it. It is at all-time lows. That is the cool, interesting part about this trade, at least. This one's too slow. I'll pass on it. This one's too expensive. Pass on this also. And QRTEA. At least this one's tradable. But this one, I don't know. I'll zoom in. It actually isn't moving that fast or that slow, kind of right down the middle, which makes it very good for us here. So, you know what? This one, actually, the shoe just fits. QRTEA. Tongue twister stock, but shortable, perhaps making a lower high once again from here. We had a ton of short covering at 2:12 Eastern time. Can't go back on the tape that far, or at least on the live feed, but I think that looking at the matrix histogram here, I think that we could see where the smart money was filled. So $8.19 presumptively is where we had that big spike of volume that got filled there. Just draw the line. And what do you know? It's holding that level right now as resistance. So that could be the lower high level there. Wow, Penn took a huge hit today off of earnings. That I know for a fact. I'm just going to look at the news there. I don't know, my guess would also be downgrades from some firms. I don't really see much. Looks like Q3 EPS results lower. They're down year over year. You know, a little expensive of a stock, but just interesting to see Penn down over 20% this morning. Got Dish, Com here. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Let's see what else we got on the loser side here, folks. No other real familiar names that I saw aside from Dish, and I meant to click that. Yeah, I'll tell you, Dish is at the lows right now. Order book kind of thin, albeit the stock's on a penny spread. I just feel like for a 30 some odd dollar stock, I would want it to move a lot faster than it is right now. Oh, now this is a nice pop. This popped up on my Benzinga signals feed here. BCTX obviously breaking a new high now, up over 12%. Is this all-time highs? No, not all-time highs, but obviously 52-week highs here, making a pretty strong run up right now. And a follow-up on Penn National Gaming from David C. Sexual harassment allegations against Barstool Dave Portnoy. Eey, that's not good. All right. We'll look into that later, I reckon. But nonetheless, BCTX, this stock in particular, we'll put on the main watch list. Notice, though, it did not test 10 yet, folks. It hit 999. That's pretty telling to me because at least it goes to show so far there's zero buying interest off of that 10 level, at least yet. You know, once that 10 level breaks, we'll see how the stock reacts. All right, but I think that's just about it from me, folks. Got RJF on YouTube with the Nikola stock, so that one's already on our list. That one looks incredible. Between this and Ford, both of those already on the main watch list so far. All right, the OCGN trade held right under 1050 and pulled back down a tiny bit back down to 1018. Still in that trade right now from entry 961, but you know, if it ends up kind of beginning to build lower highs, then I have zero problem getting out and just taking the profit. All right, folks, I think that just about does it, unless if you have anything for me here inside the chat board or on social media. I think that we're just about good to go. From Henry on inside the live trading room asking about the BKKT. I hope that you're not holding on to a position from yesterday. The reason I say that is because right now this stock, you know, it's very volatile. So probably within a blink of an eye, it could pop up 50 cents. But this stock has such thin liquidity on the book, it's impossible to use our strategy on this stock here, Henry. There's zero iceberg orders out there. The spread's just untradeable. It makes it extremely difficult, if maybe even impossible, to use our strategy on that trade. PASG popped up on my Benzinga signals feed here, folks. This is the last one, but this one's not trading a whole lot of volume across the whole day. I mean, it's at the highs, has a decent spread for right now, but it's only trading 361,000 shares total. Normally to have a stock run pretty nicely for us going into the close, it's got to be trading a lot more volume than that. So, I see this stock at the highs, but for the meantime, I think that we'll pass on it for right now. If it ends up showing more signs of life in the coming minutes, then we'll call it out. But I think for right now, we'll pass. All right. So I think all in all, we got a decent watch list. I did a good job, at least, of trying to keep it simple. F, Nikola, OCGN, that QRTEA trade, BCTX, and Prague. That's six in total, folks. Aside from that, again, we'll talk more crypto and Bitcoin and all the good stuff tomorrow. But I'm still in on my swing trade. I mean, I would like to think that you folks know that I would still be in, but wanted to let you folks know officially from 11:32. What is that? PETZ at 4. Whoa! All right, so making a much better pop compared to what I thought it was gonna do, right? So hey, for the meantime, we'll add this to the list. We'll make it 7. All right, cool. I actually forgot to come back to this. So had Chuck here type it in the chat board right now. PETZ worth watching at 4. So thank you very much for the heads up there, Chuck. Definitely making a much better move than I was thinking it would make. But just still keep your eye on the volume though, because hey, the volume died off. It was consolidating. Thankfully, we had this pop. The next time the volume dies off, it might not be so nice to us. So just be very mindful of that. But otherwise, for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Facebook, I'll never get it right. But I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you have any other questions that you would like to send over my way, please do so. Feel more than free to do so by sending it right to my email address, josh@c2trading.com. But if you're ready to make the plunge, join us live inside the Cyber Group trading room that we have and continue the audio commentary that we have heading into this market's close. You could do so by going right down to the link on the banner of the stream there, right below, and just join us for a week-long trial. But for all of us there right now, James, Michael, Grant, Chuck, Scott, Henry, Bill, Ron, can keep going. But all of us otherwise, I'll talk to you folks coming up pretty shortly. I'll be back on the mic myself right at 3:30 Eastern. I'll talk to you all then. Take care.